Chapter 1.
Omega, get up.
The boot hit her ribs before the words finished. Eileen rolled to her knees, eyes down, swallowing the growl that wanted out. The guard laughed and moved on, close to losing a hand and never knowing it. She wasn't supposed to feel that way. Omegas didn't. But she wasn't one. She reached for the cracked brush and went back to scrubbing. Lye stung her knuckles. Cold soaked through the stones into her bones. The bucket beside her was a flat gray soup that always found a way to smell like rust and old breath. Scrub the floors. Keep your head down. Don't talk. Don't meet eyes. That was the job they gave her. It was also her cover. The castle called her Omega, a forgettable servant with a plain dress and a smaller voice. The truth underneath the ash and soap was dangerous. She was the dead Alpha King's daughter. When Queen Maren took the throne, soldiers wiped out Eileen's family in one night and blamed rebels. The story that saved Eileen's life was simpler. Varel spread the rumor that Eileen was dead. Varel, her mother's maid and closest friend, smuggled the child out through a servant's passage, hid her, changed her name, and let the lie take root. Queen Maren had hated Varel ever since. Before the coup, Varel had been the former queen's confidant, the one who knew letters, secrets, and private counsel Maren never heard. After Maren seized power, she couldn't prove treason, so she punished loyalty, kept Varel close, made her life small, and made Varel's daughter small with it. Years later, Eileen scrubbed the dungeons and hauled slop, the perfect disguise. The walls wept. Water dripped in regular beats, the only heartbeat the place admitted. Eileen pressed harder until her forearm burned. She shifted to the next flagstone, wrung the brush, and listened to the quiet. On good days, the dungeon kept to itself. No begging, no cursing, no guards practicing cruelty on whatever moved. This wasn't a good day.
You missed a spot.
She stilled. The voice was male, close, and not one she knew. Eileen turned her head toward the far cell. A prisoner sat in the shadows, chained at the wrists. Broad-shouldered under a filthy shirt, dark hair matted back, a cut splitting his lower lip. His eyes were a clear, unsettling gray, sharp, even here. "I didn't ask for company," she said, returning to the floor.
Didn't ask for a jailer either.
He replied. Chains scraped as he leaned to the bars.
But the hospitality's unforgettable.
"You must be new," she muttered. The talkative ones get quiet fast.
Maybe I'm efficient. I can be quiet and annoying at the same time.
Despite herself, a corner of her mouth twitched. "You should be saving air,"
You should be saving your back.
he countered.
You scrub like you're angry at the stone.
"Stone doesn't argue," she said. "People do."
Yes, that. We do.
He watched her a beat.
What do they call you?
"Eileen."
Liar.
She ignored him, rinsing the brush. "Drink before you choke on your pride." He lifted his cuffed hands an inch.
The staff forgot my goblet.
Eileen glanced toward the supply shelf. A dented tin cup sat beside a stack of rags, careless but useful. She filled it from the clean bucket and slid it through the food slot. He took it carefully, as if he expected the cup to bite.
Thanks.
"Don't thank me," she said. "If you die, I have to clean it up." He huffed a laugh, softer this time.
Name's Rowan.
She didn't look up. "You introducing yourself or warning me?"
Depends.
He said.
Are you the type that uses names as knives?
"I'm the type that gets yelled at if I stand still," she said, moving to the next stone. Rowan studied her, not unkindly.
You don't move like prey.
"Don't test that theory," she said, and meant it. The iron door groaned open at the far end. Torchlight and rosemary threaded into the damp.
"Leave her!"
Varel told the guard, voice even.
"Queen Maren wants the west cells done before sundown. I'll take this side."
The guard shrugged and clanked away. The door thudded shut. Varel crossed to Eileen, quick and neat. Her hands were rough, her eyes missed nothing. She took Eileen's forearm, turned it, and clicked her tongue at the scrape. A strip of apron became a clean bandage in 2 practiced motions.
Careful,
Varel murmured.
the Queen's counting mistakes today.
She always is, Eileen said.
Worse than usual.
Varel kept her voice low.
Blood Moon's coming. She's invited the Southern Alpha for the hunt.
Eileen frowned. What's that got to do with us?
Everything.
Varel said.
When Queen Maren wants to look powerful, she starts by making the rest of us look small.
Her gaze flicked toward Rowan, flat and unreadable.
And keep your distance from that one. The clever ones live long enough to cause trouble.
Rowan lifted his tin in a short, sardonic salute.
I'm honored.
No.
Varel said without looking at him.
You're loud.
She turned back to Eileen.
Kitchens need hands. Go.
I can finish this row.
Go!
Varel repeated, firm as a door latch. Eileen gathered her bucket and brush. As she passed the cell, Rowan spoke without turning his head.
Appreciate the water, not quite Omega.
Learn to whisper, she said over her shoulder. You'll live longer. Upstairs, heat pushed the damp from her skin. The corridors smelled of smoke, onions, and beeswax. Servants moved in lines that looked like order from a distance. Banners up, silver polished, floors polished again. The castle always glittered when it wanted to hide the rot. Eileen ducked into a storage closet for a breath. A little parcel lay on the shelf, bread wrapped in cloth with Varel's small mark. She slipped it under her apron and kept moving. At the stairwell window, she paused. Queen Maren stood in the inner courtyard below, crimson gown pooling like a spill, gold hair pinned with jeweled combs. She laughed at something a captain said, then tapped his arm with her fan when he flinched. From up here, the gesture looked light. Eileen knew better. She felt her jaw set and made herself look away. Not now. Stay small. Breathe. The kitchen took her for the next hours, hauling water, chopping vegetables, ferrying trays. Varel swept through twice without stopping, her path a map of avoiding disaster. When the rush eased, Eileen slipped a heel of bread to the laundry girl who always came last for soup, then headed back down with a stack of clean rags and a tin of salve Varel had pressed into her hand. The dungeon felt colder at night. Fewer voices, more echo. Rowan sat on the floor, back to the wall, eyes clear.
You again,
He said mildly. Your wrists, she said, sliding the salve and 2 rags through the slot. Use it or don't. Just don't bleed on the floor I just scrubbed. He turned the tin like he wasn't sure whether to trust it.
You don't act like the others.
I'm not the others, she said.
Not just an Omega then.
She met his gaze for a single heartbeat, enough to warn. I am an Omega, but I don't care to cower in front of a man who is about to die. He accepted the lie for what it was, a line with teeth in it.
Fair.
A cough barked down the corridor and didn't stop. Water dripped. A rat skittered somewhere behind the stones.
Why are you here?
He asked after a moment. Because the Queen says so, she said.
Not tonight.
He tilted his head.
Here. In this life. You don't carry yourself like kennel girls or kitchen staff.
Again with this? He ignored her comment, still watching.
You smell like ash and lie, and something that doesn't match being stepped on.
Must be the rats, she said. They eat better than we do. He smiled, brief, knowing.
Maybe.
The iron door moaned again. Eileen moved back to her bucket, scrubbed a harmless spot like she belonged to it. Varel slipped in alone, shut the door quietly, and crossed to Eileen.
Up!
She murmured, barely moving her lips.
Now!
Eileen grabbed the bucket and followed. In the stairwell, Varel pulled her into a narrow recess as footsteps climbed below. Boots, more boots, and the lighter tread that always arrived with danger. Perfume arrived first, cold lilac under smoke. Queen Maren's voice rose, amused and bored.
Filthy, but useful,
she said to her unseen companion.
We keep them just clean enough to serve.
Eileen became stillness. Varel turned her so only the gray of her dress showed through the notch in the wall. Marin passed without looking their way. Steel and silk scraped the stone, then faded. Varel waited 2 breaths, then let out the air she'd been holding.
Servant's wing.
She whispered.
Bolt your door.
Eileen nodded. What about you?
I'll be seen,
Varel said.
so you don't have to be.
They split at the landing. Eileen slid into the narrow room she shared with 2 girls already asleep and snoring like they were trying to rattle the shutters. She dropped the bolt, lay on the thin mattress, and stared at the ceiling until the rough plaster blurred. She didn't dream of crowns. Not at first. She dreamed of her mother's hand smoothing her hair, and her father lifting her high enough to see over the wall, telling her the forest belonged to anyone brave enough to walk it. When the dream thinned, something older rose in the quiet. Not a voice, not words. A calm presence looking back from behind her own eyes. Her wolf, it didn't push. It didn't demand. It waited. Eileen rolled to face the wall, made herself small again, and listened to the deep night settle over the castle. Blood moon was coming. Queen Marin wanted a show, and the dungeon girl would keep her head down until she didn't. Chapter 2. Eileen woke to the sound of shouting. At first, it tangled with her dream, men yelling, doors slamming, the crash of metal. Then the noise sharpened. The ground itself seemed to tremble. She sat up fast, heart hammering. Someone was pounding down the servants' corridor, shouting her name.
Eileen!
The door burst open. Varel stepped in, her face pale beneath the lamplight.
Up! Now!
What's happening? Eileen asked, still tangled in her blanket.
Get dressed! Quickly!
Eileen swung her legs out of bed, pulling on her worn gray dress. Is it the Queen?
Worse,
Varel said.
a prisoner's escaped.
Eileen froze. Escaped? Varel nodded tightly.
The dungeon's in chaos. The guards are looking for someone to blame. Everyone's being called to the Great Hall.
Eileen's stomach dropped. There had only been 1 new prisoner yesterday. Rowan. The image of him sitting in the dark corner cell hit her like a blow, his quiet humor, his gray eyes that saw too much. It can't be him, she whispered. Varel didn't answer, which said enough. The hallway outside was crowded with frightened servants. Boots clattered, orders barked. The air smelled of smoke and sweat. Eileen fell into step beside Varel as they were herded toward the main staircase. A guard at the landing shouted,
All servants to the throne hall. Now!
They obeyed. By the time Eileen and Varel reached the marble floor, half the castle was already gathered. The Queen's banner hung high above the dais, crimson, trimmed in gold, the new wolf's crest shining like it was proud of what it replaced. Queen Marin sat on the throne in full daylight, wrapped in red silk and calm like a loaded crossbow. 10 guards lined the hall in front of her. Every one of them looked ready to kill something to prove their loyalty. Varel gripped Eileen's arm, steady and protective.
Keep your head down,
She murmured. Eileen did, but her pulse beat hard in her throat when Marin rose.
The dungeon was breached last night.
The Queen said, her voice smooth, cutting through the noise like a blade through cloth.
A prisoner escaped from my cells. He was last seen alive in the custody of my guards, and this morning nowhere to be found.
Her gaze swept over the servants.
Someone helped him.
The hall went still. Marin turned to the captain of the guard.
Speak!
The captain stepped forward, his voice rough with fear.
Your Majesty, we found signs of tampering at the west cell, and several witnesses heard the prisoner speaking to one of the servants before lights out.
The Queen tilted her head.
Which servant?
He hesitated. The pause alone made Eileen's stomach twist. Then he said,
Eileen, my queen, the Omega girl who cleans the lower cells.
A murmur spread through the hall like wind through grass. Eileen's knees almost gave out. She wanted to speak, to say it wasn't true, but her voice caught. Varel moved first.
That's a lie!
All eyes turned to her.
She was with me all day yesterday,
Varel said, stepping forward. Her tone was steady, but her hands trembled.
She never left my side. The guards are mistaken.
Careful, Virel.
Marin said, almost amused.
You're accusing my men of lying.
I'm stating a fact, Your Majesty.
Varel said.
The girl worked under me in the kitchens and the dungeons. She was accounted for.
One of the guards sneered.
We heard her voice down there, my queen. She was talking to the prisoner, called him by name.
Eileen shook her head, panic rising. That's not...
Quiet!
The captain barked. Varel stepped between her and the guards.
You're frightened, so you're blaming the nearest target. How convenient for you that it's a servant who can't defend herself.
Convenient.
Marin echoed, the word curling into a smile.
Or true.
Eileen found her voice, shaky but clear. Your Majesty, I didn't help him. I cleaned his cell like I was told. That's all. The Queen studied her like she was reading a stain.
And yet the man you cleaned for somehow walked out of a locked dungeon without breaking a sweat. Do you expect me to believe that's coincidence?
I don't know how he escaped, Eileen said. But I swear I...
Of course you don't know.
Marin interrupted, her tone turning sharp.
You're an Omega. Not much to know in those heads.
The crowd laughed weakly, trying to match the Queen's mood. Varel's voice cut through the sound.
Your Majesty, the guards are protecting themselves. They failed to watch the cells. They don't want to be punished for it. So they're throwing blame at a servant who can't fight back.
Marin's smile never reached her eyes.
You're quick to defend her.
She's my responsibility.
Oh, yes.
Marin said, her voice sweet as venom.
Your daughter, isn't she? How touching.
She's a good girl,
Varel said firmly.
And she's innocent.
Marin circled her slowly, like a wolf deciding where to bite.
A good girl who somehow finds time to chat with traitors. A good girl whose mother has a history of loyalty to dead queens.
The insult landed like a slap. Varel straightened, jaw tight.
I have served you faithfully for years.
Faithfully?
Marin echoed.
You mean silently. There's a difference.
Eileen's chest ached. Please, Your Majesty, she said, desperate now. I didn't help him. I barely spoke to him.
You admit you spoke to him.
Marin's tone sharpened. Eileen faltered. He spoke to me first. Marin turned to her captain.
There, you see. She confesses with her own tongue.
Varel took a step forward.
That's not what she meant!
Enough.
The single word froze the room. The Queen turned back to Varel.
You'd lie for her. Of course you would. She's your daughter after all.
She is my daughter and she is honest,
Varel said quietly. Marin's eyes narrowed.
Honesty from a servant? Am I to believe the word of a mere Omega over 10 of my guards?
The silence that followed was thick enough to choke on. Eileen's pulse thundered in her ears. The other servants stared at the floor. No one dared move. The Queen's gaze cut back to the guards.
Find him. Scour the forests, the cellars, the tunnels. If you fail again, I'll hang the lot of you beside your escaped pet. As for you, Omega,
she said, voice steady and cruel,
tell the truth and you will only be given 50 lashes.
She is an Omega!
Varel pleaded.
50 lashes will kill her, please!
Marin cut her off with a single bored look.
Spare me your theatrics. Either she confesses or we make an example.
Marin stepped closer until Varel could feel the heat of the Queen's breath. She leaned down, the silk of her sleeve whispering across the older woman's cheek as she spoke. quiet enough that only Varel heard.
You shouldn't have stayed loyal to your dead queen.
Marin whispered, venom soft.
You should have bent when I offered mercy. You chose the pyre. You chose exile. You chose to breed traitors. Now watch what your choices bring.
Varel's lips trembled. Her whole face went white as if the words had scoured color from her. She took one shuddering step back, hands trembling like dry branches.
Tell the truth,
Marin said, straightening, her voice rising so everyone could hear.
Confess and be spared. Refuse and we cut out the lie with blood.
Eileen's hands went numb. The room seemed suddenly to be underwater, the murmurs muffled, the torches distant, her lungs pressed for air. She thought of her parents' faces in the smoke, of Varel's two fierce hands pulling her small body to safety. She thought of every shove and insult that had been heaped on them for years. She had been obeying for so long. Obeying had kept her alive. Obeying had taught her how to fold herself small into the corners of the world. But the thought of the queen, this woman who'd killed her family and kept the murderer's crown warm, smiling while a girl bled for the guard's cowardice, lit something hard and white inside Eileen. I didn't do it, she said, voice flat and steady, not a plea. She didn't bother with the titles. She didn't falter for the practiced bow. I didn't help him. I don't know where he is. For a second, no one moved. The guards' grip on their weapons tightened. Marin's smile curdled.
Guards!
She snapped.
She refuses to confess, since she prefers to lie.
Her hand gestured.
Execute her.
Two men stepped forward with a cleaver between them. The blade flashed. Varel's scream filled the hall.
No!
She cried, lunging.
Your Majesty, please!
Marin didn't so much as blink. She leaned into Varel as the executioner raised the blade.
You shouldn't have stayed loyal to your dead queen.
She breathed again, louder this time, the words a promise and a threat all at once. Then she gave the nod. The executioner's arms began to fall.
Do not touch my Luna.
The executioner froze mid-swing. Every sound in the throne hall died, until the queen's own startled voice broke it.
Alpha Rian!
Marin's head snapped toward the great doors.
When did you get here? You weren't expected until the 6th bell past noon.
Ryan didn't answer. He crossed the hall with the slow confidence of someone who knew the room already belonged to him. His cloak trailed dust across the marble. The guards lowered their weapons, uncertain, stepping back to make way. He stopped in front of the executioner.
Step away,
he said. The man obeyed before realizing he'd moved. Eileen lifted her head, and the world tilted. Because the man standing in front of her wasn't a stranger. Chapter 3. The same gray eyes she'd seen behind the dungeon bars met hers now, framed by sunlight instead of shadow. The same mouth, the same scar at the corner of his lip. The same voice that had teased her about saving air, now wrapped in an alpha's tone. Rowan. But that was impossible. Everyone around her bowed or stared, seeing only the royal crest stitched into his cloak, the easy arrogance of a visiting alpha. Only Eileen's vision split, two truths overlapping. The prisoner she'd given water to, and the man the queen now called Your Highness. Her breath hitched. He didn't glance at her again, not directly, but she felt the weight of recognition in the smallest shift of his eyes, the quiet warning there. Don't speak. Queen Marin descended the steps of the dais, her silks whispering against the marble.
Your Highness,
she said, forcing smoothness into her tone.
We were not expecting you until after the 6th bell. What brings the Southern Alpha to my hall so urgently?
Rowan, didn't answer right away. He was still looking at the executioner, who held the cleaver frozen midair. His voice, when it came, was quiet but absolute.
Put it down.
The man obeyed, trembling. Only then did Ryan turn to the queen.
I arrived early,
he said simply.
It seems I did so at the right time.
The Queen's expression flickered.
You arrived unannounced, interrupted royal judgment, and now presume to command my guards?
He tilted his head slightly, the movement small but cutting.
Your guards were about to execute a girl for a crime she did not commit. Forgive me if I mistook that for poor judgment.
A ripple of shock moved through the hall. Queen Marin's smile tightened.
You defend her so eagerly. Tell me, Your Highness, since when does an alpha champion a servant?
Her gaze turned on Eileen, sharp and disdainful.
A mere omega, no less. You must have very generous tastes.
I have a distaste for injustice,
He said, tone even.
if that's what you mean.
Marin's eyes narrowed.
And what would you know of this injustice? You were not here last night.
Ryan's answer came calm as a blade sliding from its sheath.
You'd be surprised what I see, even when I'm not expected.
Something in his voice made Eileen's stomach twist. That tone was the same one Rowan had used in the dungeon when he said you don't move like prey. But how could he be standing here, dressed in velvet and silver, with the crest of the southern house stitched over his heart? She glanced at the guards. None of them showed the faintest flicker of recognition. They didn't see Rowan at all. Not his face, not his eyes, not the scar she couldn't unsee. Her heart pounded. She turned her head slightly, searching for Varel in the crowd. Varel stood rigid behind a column of servants, pale and silent, her hands clasped in front of her apron. Nothing. No recognition. Eileen looked back at him. Rowan, Ryan, whoever he was. His posture hadn't changed, but something about the air around him shimmered faintly, like heat above stone. For a heartbeat, she thought she saw chains flicker ghost-like across his wrists, then vanish. Her breath caught. No one else reacted. The Queen, still recovering her poise, folded her hands together.
You speak boldly for a guest in another's court,
She said.
but perhaps you'd like to explain yourself, Alpha Rian. On what grounds do you claim this girl?
He met her gaze without flinching.
On grounds of law. You invited me here as a guest of your realm. Under the Southern Marches Code, those under my protection are mine to defend until I leave this court.
Your protection?
Marin's lips curved.
You claim her then?
He didn't hesitate.
I do.
The hall erupted into murmurs. The Queen raised a hand for silence, though fury burned behind her composure.
And if I refuse this claim?
Ryan's voice dropped, just enough that the space between words grew dangerous.
Then I will take her by right of the Blood Moon Treaty your ancestors signed. Unless, of course, you wish to undo the very alliance you've summoned me here to strengthen.
Marin blinked. Her jaw tightened, but she smiled as if the exchange amused her.
You play politics well, Your Highness. Very well. Keep your little pet, for now. But know this, if she steps out of line again, not even your crest will save her.
Ryan inclined his head once.
Understood.
He turned and gestured to the guards.
Release her.
They hesitated, looking to the Queen for confirmation. Marin gave a stiff nod, her eyes locked on Eileen like she was something vile that had crawled out of the dirt. Eileen's wrists were freed. She stood unsteady, confusion and adrenaline tangling in her chest. Ryan didn't look at her, but the faintest movement of his hand told her to follow, and she did, because she didn't know what else to do. As they walked out of the hall, whispers followed.
The Alpha.
Why her?
An Omega?
He must be mad.
Eileen didn't care. All she could think about was the impossible truth burning behind her eyes. Rowan had been a prisoner in chains yesterday morning. Now he was Alpha Ryan of the Southern Marches, rescuer, royal guest, and liar. And somehow, she was his Luna. They didn't speak until the last echo of the throne hall faded. 2 guards followed at a respectful distance, unsure who they feared more, the Queen or the Southern Prince. When Ryan finally stopped in one of the side corridors, the light from the narrow windows cut across his face. The fine cloak, the gold fastenings, everything said royalty. But when he turned to her, the movement was the same one she'd seen in the dungeon, quiet and precise. Eileen's voice came out rough. "What are you?" He didn't answer. "You were in chains yesterday," she said, stepping closer. "You said your name was Rowan. You bled on the floor. You were a prisoner." His jaw tightened.
Keep your voice down.
"I watched them feed you like a dog, and now you walk in here in silk? The Queen thinks you're a prince. The guards don't even recognize you." She broke off, trying to steady her breathing. "Why can't I?" He exhaled once through his nose, almost a laugh, but not quite.
Because you are my mate.
She froze. For a heartbeat, she simply stared. Then a short, incredulous laugh burst out of her. "You're what?" He said nothing. His gaze held steady, calm and sure. "You've lost your mind," she said, shaking her head. "You can't just walk into a room, claim someone as your Luna, and call it destiny."
I didn't choose it.
He said.
Neither did you.
"Then maybe the moon made a mistake." Before he could answer, footsteps echoed nearby. He looked over his shoulder once, then back to her.
We can't talk here. Come with me.
"I'm not going anywhere with you." He took her wrist, not roughly, but with the firm insistence of someone who knew arguing would waste time.
You want answers? Follow me.
Against her better judgment, she did. They moved through a maze of servants' corridors and up a narrow staircase that ended in a forgotten solar. Dusty furniture, draped windows, the faint scent of old incense. When he shut the door behind them, the air seemed to thicken. Eileen pulled her wrist free. "Now talk." He turned toward her, still composed but watchful.
I meant what I said.
"About being your mate?" She scoffed. "I would have felt it. The pull, the bond, something. I felt nothing."
You wouldn't.
He said quietly.
Not like this.
"Why not?"
Because you've buried your wolf so deep, she can barely breathe.
Her lips parted, stunned. "What?"
I can smell it.
He said.
The herbs you use. The oils in your clothes. The smoke you burn at night to dull your senses. You've been suppressing your wolf for years.
Eileen stared at him, heart pounding. "That's not possible." "Even the Queen, Queen Marin, she's the strongest in our pack. She's never noticed." Ryan looked away, jaw tightening.
The Queen doesn't have what I have.
"And what's that?" He hesitated, then met her eyes.
Blood that isn't just wolf.
Eileen's pulse stuttered. "What do you mean?" He lifted his sleeve, and faint silver lines glowed under his skin, runes that pulsed like veins of moonlight.
Because I'm not only wolf.
He said quietly.
I'm half Fae.
The word hit like thunder. Eileen's breath caught. "That's impossible. The Fae were wiped out centuries ago."
Not all of them.
She stepped back. "That's treason to even say their name."
I know.
He said, voice low.
That's why I hide it. My Fae blood lets me change what others see, cloak my scent, my face. Only my mate can see through it.
Her stomach turned cold. "So that's why I recognized you. In the hall." He nodded once.
Yes.
Her voice shook. "You're telling me everyone else saw a prince, but I saw a prisoner because of some bond I never asked for?" "Yes," she laughed bitterly. "You're insane."
Maybe. But the magic isn't.
Eileen pressed a hand to her mouth, staring at the faint light flickering from his arm. "Fae blood," she whispered. "If anyone finds out—"
They won't.
He said.
Unless you tell them.
"Why would I?" she snapped. "You're the one walking around cursed by your own secrets."
I'm cursed because of yours.
He murmured. Her brow furrowed. "What?" He looked at her for a long time, then sighed.
I can't tell you everything yet. Not until I can trust you.
Her laugh this time held more anger than disbelief. "Trust me? You were the one rotting in a cell pretending to be someone else."
I wasn't pretending.
he said evenly.
I was hiding.
From what?
From who?
He corrected softly. She stared at him, trying to read the truth behind his calm. Then what can you tell me? Ryan's gaze softened, the mask slipping just enough for her to glimpse the exhaustion beneath.
I can tell you why I'm here.
Eileen folded her arms. Then start talking. Ryan leaned back against the table behind him, studying her as if weighing how much truth she could stand.
Long before either of us was born,
He said quietly.
your bloodline saved mine. When the Fae were being hunted, a wolf queen hid a wounded Fae healer in her palace, risked her life to smuggle him across the borders. That healer was my ancestor. To repay the mercy of the wolves, the Fae swore an oath. If ever the queen's line was threatened, our blood would rise to defend it. The oath was sealed in blood and iron, and it passed through every generation of my family. When my mother died, it passed to me.
He turned his arm so she could see the faint runes glowing like moonlight under his skin.
These marks are the oath. They burn when the royal line is in danger. The night your family was slaughtered, they caught fire. I felt it through the glamour and the miles. It hasn't stopped burning since.
Her breath caught. And you think that means?
That the heir survived.
He said simply.
That you survived.
She shook her head. You're wrong. I'm no heir. I'm nothing. He stepped closer, slow enough that she could have stopped him but didn't.
You hide behind herbs and ash, dull your scent until you can barely stand your own reflection. But underneath all that, your blood sings the same note as the Lost Queen's. I've heard it in my dreams for years.
You dreamed of me? She whispered. He nodded.
I didn't understand it until I saw you in that cell, until I realized you were the reason the oath still burned.
Eileen pressed her palms against the table, trying to anchor herself. So you let yourself be captured? That's how you came to find me?
Yes,
He said.
a rogue could slip into places an alpha never could.
And if I had been just a servant?
Then I'd have died in the cell, and the magic would have faded.
His voice dropped, low and steady.
But it didn't.
She wanted to argue, to tell him he was mad, but the runes still shimmered faintly, and his scent, wild, bright, unearthly, seemed to vibrate through her bones. You're bound to this debt, she said finally. You're here because of some ancient promise, not because of me. His expression softened.
At first. Then I met you.
Silence settled between them, filled only by the slow rhythm of their breathing. Eileen looked away. If the Queen finds out who I am, she'll kill us both. Ryan's answer came without hesitation.
Then we make sure she never does.
Chapter 4. The Queen didn't scream that day. She didn't have to. By morning, everyone in the palace knew what her smile meant. Varel's duties were doubled, then tripled. She was pulled from the kitchens, reassigned to the upper floors, then sent back down again to clean the dungeons she used to supervise. No one said the word punishment, but it hung in every order she received. The message was clear. The Queen couldn't touch the prince or his new Luna, but she could make the woman who raised her suffer. Eileen tried to see Varel 3 times. Every time a guard stopped her with a polite excuse or redirected her to a pointless task. By the 3rd day, she realized it wasn't coincidence. The Queen wanted her isolated. People started treating her differently. The servants who once ignored her now bowed their heads. The guards who used to shove past her hesitated before speaking. Whispers followed her down the halls. The prince's chosen, the Southern Luna, the Omega who defied the Queen and lived. Eileen didn't know which rumor was worse. She kept her head down, but she could feel their eyes on her. She had spent years pretending to be invisible. Now the attention felt like a noose. When she passed the East Gallery, she saw Ryan leaning against a pillar, pretending to study a portrait.
You've become popular.
He said, smirking. I didn't ask for it.
No one ever does. Popularity's just fear in new clothes.
Then I'd rather stay hated. He looked amused.
You might not have that choice anymore.
They started meeting in secret again, in the old records room behind the armory. The place was cold, but private. It had one narrow window and a table covered in dust.
You shouldn't keep walking alone.
Ryan said one night as she shut the door behind her. You shouldn't have called me your Luna in front of the entire court, she shot back.
It stopped them from killing you.
It started 1,000 rumors,
Good.
he said.
Rumors are protection. No one dares touch what they're afraid of.
Eileen sat on the table's edge, crossing her arms. We can't live off fear.
We won't.
He unrolled a faded map of the palace.
We'll build something better.
They leaned over it together. Ryan pointed out guard shifts and passageways. Eileen corrected him on which servants were loyal and which were spies. Slowly, their shared purpose turned into a kind of rhythm. Sharp words, quiet understanding. She learned that his magic wasn't endless. The glamour that kept his fey side hidden took energy to maintain. The longer he held it, the more it drained him. He learned that her wolf had been suppressed so long she could barely feel it stir. They had that in common, both hiding what they really were just to stay alive. A week passed without a single word from Varel. Eileen's patience snapped. I need to see her, she said suddenly one night. I can't keep pretending she's fine. Ryan looked up from the map.
The Queen's keeping her busy on purpose.
She's the only family I have left, Eileen said. She was my mother's best friend. She saved me when the others were killed. If we're planning to take the throne, we need her. She knows the palace better than anyone, and she can feed us information.
Eileen.
She won't betray us, she said firmly. She's kept my secret all these years. He hesitated, studying her face. Then he sighed.
You're not going to drop this, are you?
No.
Fine.
He said finally.
But we'll do it my way. No one can see me as myself.
She frowned. Meaning?
I'll borrow a face they won't question.
She blinked. You mean the Queen's? He gave a small, dangerous grin.
Who else?
Ryan stood a few feet away, eyes half closed. The air in the room shifted, cooler, sharper, his outline blurred like heat rising off metal. When it settled again, Queen Maren stood in his place. For a second, Eileen froze. Then her wolf stirred, and the illusion broke. She still saw him underneath, the same face, same gray eyes, same mouth fighting a smirk. Only the clothes and frame had changed. Eileen blinked once, then burst out laughing. Ryan tilted his head.
I don't usually get that reaction.
You look ridiculous, she said, still laughing. Like the Queen's wearing your skin.
Let's hope that's enough to fool everyone else.
They found Varel alone in the laundry hall, kneeling beside a steaming tub. Her hands were raw and pink from scrubbing. When she saw the Queen standing in the doorway, she dropped to her knees instantly.
Your Majesty!
Eileen stepped forward quickly. It's me. Varel looked up, startled.
Eileen!
Before she could speak again, Ryan shut the door and let the glamour fade. The Queen's red gown shimmered into a cloak of black. Varel's eyes widened. She whispered,
By the moon!
It's all right, Eileen said. He's with me. Varel's voice was low and sharp.
Do you want both of us hanged?
No, Eileen said quietly. I want to take back what's ours. She told her everything, about Rowan, about Ryan's real identity, about the plan. Rian stayed quiet, letting her speak. Varel listened the whole time without interrupting. When Eileen finished, she wiped her wet hands on her apron and looked at Rian.
You're half Fae,
she said flatly.
Yes.
Then you'd better be good at hiding it.
He smiled faintly.
I've had practice.
Varel stood silent for a long moment, the sound of water dripping from her hands echoing in the laundry hall. Then she asked quietly,
What is your plan?
Eileen glanced at Rian, then back at her. To take back the throne. To tell the truth, that the Queen murdered my family and that I am the rightful heir. Varel's face fell. The strength in her shoulders seemed to fold in on itself.
Child, no!
I have to, Eileen said. You always told me wolves don't run forever. Varel's jaw tightened.
And most who stop running die where they stand.
Eileen moved closer. You once said my mother would have fought.
That woman was born under a blood moon,
Varel murmured.
You are not her.
Maybe I'm enough. Varel exhaled, the fight leaving her.
I knew this day would come,
She said softly.
You were never meant to scrub floors and hide behind false scents. You can't cage a wolf forever.
She looked up at her, eyes glistening.
So be it. But if you mean to claim the crown, you'll need proof.
What kind of proof?
Ryan asked.
The Destiny Stone,
Varel said. Eileen blinked. That's impossible. The stone was destroyed during the rebellion. Varel shook her head.
No. The Destiny Stone cannot be destroyed or moved. It is bound to the bloodline. Only the air can touch it, and only the air can make it shine.
Rian frowned.
How do you know that?
Varel shot him a look that could cut glass.
Because I was there when Eileen's mother's hand glowed upon it, boy. Because I served the true queen, and she told me herself that the stone's light never dies. It only waits.
Eileen's voice dropped to a whisper. Then where is it?
In the Hall of Echoes,
Varel said.
beneath the throne room. A chamber carved before the first walls were built. The queen keeps it sealed. She says it's cursed. But she still sends me there to scrub the floor once a month. I've seen the pedestal. I've felt the hum beneath the stone.
Eileen's eyes widened. You've known all this time?
I was going to take that secret to the grave.
Varel said, her tone hard but trembling.
Because no one, not even a royal guard, can enter that hall without Maren's presence. It is guarded day and night by her own elite. If you step near that door, they'll cut you down before you breathe a word.
Varel's expression sharpened and she looked at Ryan.
Now that you are here, you can wear the queen's face.
Varel stepped closer, lowering her voice.
I've feared many things in my life, but not hope. If you can truly make yourself her mirror, then perhaps we have a chance.
She looked between them, steady now.
But you'll need to move before the next full moon. That's when she does her cleansing. The hall will be empty for 1 hour. After that, not even the moon could help you.
Eileen met her eyes. Then that's when we take it. Varel gave a short, bitter laugh.
You always did have your mother's stubborn streak.
Ryan folded the map they'd brought.
Stubbornness is what wins thrones.
Varel looked from one to the other.
And it's what gets wolves killed. But if this is the path you choose...
She pressed a damp hand to Eileen's cheek, leaving a faint trace of soap.
Then you'll not walk it alone.
Eileen covered her hand. Thank you.
Don't thank me yet,
Varel said.
If the Queen learns what we're doing, not even the moon will be fast enough to save us.
Chapter 5. The moon was a thin silver cut in the sky when Eileen and Ryan put their plan into motion. For a week, they'd memorized routes, watched guards change, and counted which corridors were busiest after dusk. Every night, Varel passed scraps of information hidden in folded linens or notes tucked under water pails. Eileen burned each one over the sink and whispered the words back to herself until they stuck. The plan was simple. Ryan would wear the Queen's face. The wards that sealed the Hall of Echoes would open to her presence alone. Once inside, Eileen would take the Destiny Stone to prove to the people the heir's line lived. Then they would vanish through the wine tunnel below the dais. It was the only plan they had, and the only one foolish enough to work. When the bell tolled twice, the palace slept. Rian's form shimmered beside her. Maren's sharp profile replaced his. The illusion was flawless. Every tilt of her chin, every line of that cold mouth. Eileen still saw him underneath. The magic bent light, not truth.
Ready?
He asked. his voice carrying the Queen's crisp tone. Eileen adjusted her cloak and nodded. Let's end this. They took the south corridor, where torches burned lower and servants avoided the path. 2 sentries guarded the final hallway before the Hall of Echoes. Ryan walked straight toward them.
Your Majesty.
One said, startled, dropping to his knee.
Move!
Ryan ordered, copying Marin's bored command tone perfectly. They moved. The ward before the door pulsed faintly, then shivered. The massive stone barrier groaned and swung open. The air that drifted out was cold, dry, ancient. Eileen followed closely behind him. When the door shut, it sealed like the closing of a throat. The chamber stretched wide and empty, the sound of their steps swallowed by the polished floor. At its center, on a raised pedestal, sat the Destiny Stone. It wasn't large, just a dull orb resting in a shallow cradle. But even from a distance, Eileen felt it hum through her chest. She moved forward. The air prickled against her skin. Ryan whispered,
Quickly. The glamour won't hold forever.
Eileen reached the pedestal and stared down at the relic that could decide everything. Her hand trembled as she reached for it. The moment her palm brushed the surface, light flared from within. Not harsh, not blinding, warm and alive. It wrapped her hand, climbed up her wrist, and settled over her like recognition. The hum in the air deepened, echoing faintly through the chamber. Ryan's eyes widened.
It's true.
Eileen smiled faintly. Now no one can deny it. She lifted the stone carefully, wrapped it in cloth, and tucked it against her ribs. The room exhaled. Then the sound of metal grinding echoed behind them. The door had sealed shut again. Eileen spun. Ryan...
I know.
He dropped the glamour to save his strength. The shimmer fell away, revealing his real face, his gray eyes, his scar, his humanity. He pressed his hands to the stone door.
It's locked.
You opened it once,
That was when it thought I was her.
he said.
Now it knows better.
Footsteps echoed beyond the door, measured, deliberate. Eileen's stomach dropped. The door opened on its own. Queen Marin stepped through, draped in black. No crown, no guards, just a knife at her belt and the satisfaction of someone who'd waited for the perfect moment.
I had a feeling you'd choose tonight.
She said mildly.
You wolves do love your symbols.
Eileen went still. You cleared the hall. Marin smiled.
To see who would crawl into it.
Ryan positioned himself slightly in front of Eileen.
You knew.
I suspected.
She corrected, strolling in a slow circle.
The moment the air shifted in my halls, I brought in a seer child. He doesn't speak, but he points. Every time your glamour flickered, he pointed.
Eileen's throat tightened. You used a child to hunt us?
I used a tool.
Marin said simply.
And tonight the tool told me to wait.
Ryan's jaw clenched.
You don't want us dead. Not yet.
Marin's gaze slid toward Eileen's chest.
Not before I have what I need.
The stone, Eileen said quietly.
The air.
Marin corrected.
Alive, docile and useful. You'll touch the Destiny Stone before my court. You'll kneel beside me, and I'll be the queen who saved the line she supposedly destroyed. The Pax will worship us both.
Eileen met her eyes. No. Marin stopped pacing.
Think before you answer.
I already have. The queen gave a soft sigh, then gestured toward the ceiling. A distant click sounded. Chains rattled in the shadows above.
I wondered if you'd say that.
She murmured.
So I found a different lever.
She snapped her fingers. A guard entered carrying a strip of bloodied fabric, Varel's apron. Eileen's breath caught. What did you do?
She's alive,
Marin said sweetly.
for now. I thought you might need incentive. Defy me again and she won't see the sunrise.
Eileen's hands curled into fists. If you hurt her,
You'll do nothing.
Marin said softly.
Because you care. That's your weakness. You care for servants, for traitors, for ghosts. That's why you'll kneel when I tell you.
Ryan's voice was low, cold.
You mistake compassion for weakness.
No.
Marin said, eyes sharp.
I mistake it for leverage.
Eileen's voice broke. Fine. I'll do it. Marin's smile returned, slow and satisfied.
Good girl. Tomorrow, you'll stand beside me and you'll make the world believe I saved you. You will give them a pretty speech about how your father went mad after you got kidnapped by rebels. He burned his family alive. Unfortunately, while in the custody of the rebels, you lost your memory. But when you touched the Destiny Stone, everything came rushing back.
You want me to slander my parents?
Yes, if you want to save the one you have left.
She turned toward the door.
Ache them below!
Guards poured in from the corridor. Nets fell, chains clattered. Eileen struggled, but there were too many. Ryan fought until 3 men dragged him down. The wrapped stone was torn from Eileen's dress and handed to the queen. Marin cradled it in her palm, light bleeding through the cloth.
So beautiful,
She murmured.
It's a shame it chose wrong.
Then she looked at Eileen.
3rd bell tomorrow. Wear something proper.
She left, the sound of her heels fading down the corridor. Eileen and Ryan were hauled through the lower tunnels, chained together. The air grew colder with each step. Halfway down the stairs, they passed Varel scrubbing a floor under guard. Her face was bruised, but she was alive. She didn't look up, only dropped her rag near Eileen's boot. Eileen caught it under her heel until the guards shoved her forward. When they were thrown into the dungeon, she unfolded the cloth with her bound hands. In faint soot scrawl, it read, 3rd bell. Court assembled. Don't kneel. Eileen folded it again and hid it in her sleeve. Ryan's voice came quietly through the dark.
You agreed.
I had to, she whispered back. She'll kill Varel.
She'll try anyway.
Then we make her fail, Eileen said. Ryan's head tilted, the ghost of a smile forming.
You sound like a queen.
Good, she said. Because tomorrow, I'll prove it. Chapter 6. Morning came gray and thin through the slit windows. The dungeon smelled like old water and iron. Eileen sat on the bench with the chain between her wrists, looped over one knee. Ryan sat in the next cell. Same chain, same silence. They listened to the steps above and counted them until the pattern fixed in their heads.
She's called a ball,
He said finally.
3rd bell. The restoration of the royal line.
Eileen stared at the stone. She wants me to lie to their faces.
She wants to put a leash on you where everyone can see it.
And you?
I refuse to attend.
He said.
I'll send word I'm too sick to stand, and I'll use the time to find Varel.
She'll expect that.
I know.
Can you still get to her?
I'll try.
Eileen turned her head. Don't die trying. He met her eyes.
Don't kneel.
A guard came with keys.
On your feet. The Queen wants you washed and dressed.
Eileen stood. I have a request for the Queen. The guard laughed.
And I'd like hotter soup.
Tell her this. I'll do exactly what she asked at the ball if she lets me speak to Varel alone. 1 minute. No guards. The guard's grin faded at the word alone. He left without answering. They waited. When he returned, he looked annoyed and a little pale.
She said yes. 1 minute. If you try anything, we cut the woman's throat and yours.
Ryan caught Eileen's eye as they unshackled her. He didn't have to say it. Be careful. I'll be back, she said. He gave the smallest nod.
I'll be gone.
They brought her to a linen room the guards never used. Bare shelves, a single chair, a narrow window high on the wall. 2 guards marched Varel in and then left, the door's bolt sliding home from the outside. Varel looked tired and bruised, but standing. She looked at Eileen once, and the relieved, aching breath that left her sounded like a whole memory exhaling.
Little wolf,
she said. Eileen crossed the room and held her, careful of the bruises. They stood that way for a count of 5 before pulling apart. She wants a speech, Eileen said. She's going to parade me with the Destiny Stone and make me say that you were all wrong about her, that she found me, that she saved me. She wants me to tell them my parents were mad, that they set themselves on fire. Her jaw clenched. If I don't do it, she kills you. Varel flinched once and then went still.
Of course she does.
I have a plan, Eileen said. Ryan won't go to the ball. He'll use the distraction to get you out. Varel's mouth tightened.
She will expect that.
I know, Eileen said, but he's fast and quieter than most ghosts. Varel touched her cheek.
And you?
I will walk into her hall, Eileen said. I will get as far as I have to.
You mean you will lie?
I mean I will stand where they can see me, Eileen said. And when it matters, I will tell the truth. Varel looked at her for a long beat, and then pulled her into another hard, breathless hug.
I'm proud of you,
she said, voice steady even as her hands shook.
Whatever happens tonight, remember it. I am proud of you.
I'm scared, Eileen admitted into her shoulder.
Good,
Varel said.
Only fools aren't?
The bolt slid back. The guards returned. Varel squeezed Eileen's hands once.
Trust your wolf.
Trust Ryan, Eileen said. Varel gave a small, tired smile.
I'm trying.
They were pulled apart. Ryan kept his promise. When a steward came with formal clothes and a message, "The Southern Prince is unwell and will not attend," the court clucked and frowned and sent a physician who found an empty room and a window ajar. By then, Rian was already below the east wing, counting steps and shadows. Eileen didn't see any of that. They dressed her in a pale gown that fit too well. They left her wrists bare but kept guards at both shoulders. When they marched her to the antechamber outside the Great Hall, a court seamstress pinned her hair in a simple knot, and the lady-in-waiting pressed a scented cloth into her hand. For the nerves. Eileen didn't take it. A page held the door. The noise of the ball slid over her like heat. The Great Hall had been remade from the night before. Chandeliers blazed. Musicians stood along the western wall. Nobles crowded the floor in rings, the outer packs watching from galleries above. The dais gleamed with polished stone. At its center, on a silver stand, the Destiny Stone pulsed faintly under a glass dome. When the Queen appeared, the room bent. Maren wore white this time. She looked like she meant to be remembered.
Friends,
she said, laughter in her voice that didn't reach her eyes.
Tonight we celebrate a miracle.
Eyes turned. Eileen kept hers on the floor for one breath and then lifted them to where every gaze found her.
The lost heir,
Maren said.
Stolen by chaos, hidden by lies, and, by the grace of the moon, returned at last to her people.
The hall rippled with whispers. The old guard blinked at Eileen's face and found echoes they remembered. The young ones stared like they'd met a story they thought was a myth. Maren led her up the steps and stopped beside the Destiny Stone. She laid her hand on the glass dome and nodded to a steward, who lifted it away.
Show them,
Maren murmured, voice pitched for Eileen's ear alone. Eileen touched the stone. It glowed, warm, sure, undeniable. Gasps rolled the room. The sound was a tide. Maren smiled like a victor.
You see, the line lives, and she lives because we saved her.
She took Eileen by the elbow and guided her to the front of the dais, facing the crowd. A royal herald stepped forward with a scroll, cleared his throat, and stood aside as if he'd been told the words weren't his to say. Maren leaned in.
Speak.
Eileen drew breath to begin the truth, and Maren's hand tightened.
I know your little plan,
the Queen whispered without moving her smile.
Your prince isn't coming to the ball. He thinks he'll fish your maid out of my net. He won't.
You're guessing, Eileen said without turning her head.
Look left.
Marin murmured. Eileen turned her eyes only. From the angle where she stood, hidden by a pillar from the crowd's view, a guard held Varel with one arm and a knife pressed under her jaw. Varel met Eileen's gaze and didn't even try to hide that she'd been beaten.
No one else can see her.
Marin said softly.
Only you. Only me. So you understand, if you fail to say exactly what I told you, I will open her throat in silence while you talk, and you will watch her die while they clap for your courage.
The world narrowed. The music faded to a pulse Eileen could hear in her teeth.
Speak,
Marin said. Eileen faced the crowd. The words she'd rehearsed stuck like bone in her throat. She glanced left once more. Varel shook her head the smallest amount. Marin's nails bit her arm.
Now!
Eileen opened her mouth. My parents... Varel moved. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a stumble. She leaned into the blade. The cut made no sound over the music, but Eileen felt it in her bones. The guard's eyes went wide, and then he jerked back in shock as blood ran hot over his hand. Varel folded where she stood and slid to the floor out of sight. Eileen's scream tore the hall in half. The music stopped like a cut string. Every head turned toward that sound. Marin realized she lost her leverage, and her hand flew to Eileen's mouth, and Eileen tore it away with a strength that wasn't there a breath earlier. The air shifted, something old waking up.
Guards!
Marin shouted, voice high and wrong.
Seize her!
They didn't move. The nearest guard, wolf-born, like most of them, looked at Eileen and saw not a girl in a pale dress, but authority. Her eyes burned gold, her shoulders squared. Her voice, when it came, hit their spines like a command. Stand down, she said. They did. Instinct won where orders failed. Wolves bowed to the stronger will. They'd been bowing to the wrong one for years. Marin backed a step, the first crack in her calm.
This is treason.
Eileen turned to the hall. Her hands were shaking. Her voice wasn't. I've been told to bow my entire life, she said. And the room, hungry for something true, listened. To scrub the floors of the woman who murdered my family. To pretend I was nothing while she wore my mother's crown. The murmurs in the crowd thickened, turned ugly, turned ready. My father was your king, Eileen said. He bled with you. He ate at your tables. He walked the city without guards because he didn't need them. He was loved. And he died because the woman beside me ordered it. Marin laughed, too loud, too bright.
Lies! The heir was stolen by rebels, her parents mad with grief.
Mad? Eileen cut in. You taught me that word. You wanted me to say it tonight. You wanted me to tell Thima's story about fire and despair that would make you merciful and brave. But here is the truth. Your men came in the night with torches and blades. My mother sent me into a tunnel with the woman who raised me while you burned a pack alive to make room for your crown. Someone in the upper gallery shouted,
I saw the smoke.
Another called,
I carried the bodies.
The sound spread, memories cracking open like old doors pushed too long against. Marin's smile trembled.
This is a trick. She's been coached.
Arrest her, Eileen said to the guards, and the timbre of the order made it a law. Do not harm her. Death is too easy. She will stand trial for every name that never got one. The closest captain hesitated for half a breath, then stepped forward. 2 more followed. Marin tried to back away, but the dais gave her nowhere to go. Hands closed on her arms. Her knife clattered to the floor and spun. The room shouted. Not all at once, not a single word, noise like a storm. But then the chant found itself and rose. Long live Luna. Long live Luna. Eileen flinched at the sound and shook her head. Enough, she said, and the room struggled back to silence because the room wanted someone to tell it what to do. She pointed to the side aisle. Clear it. Now. They parted without knowing why. Eileen stepped down from the dais and moved along the edge of the column where only she had seen. There, beyond the sightline of the crowd, Varel lay in a slick of blood that reflected the chandelier like fireflies trapped in wine. Eileen dropped to her knees. The tile was cold through her dress. She slid a hand under Varel's head and lifted it onto her lap. "Varel," she said, and the name cracked in the middle. "I'm here." Varel's eyes were half open and already going far. Her mouth moved once without sound. Eileen bent close. "I'm sorry," Eileen whispered. "I should have—" Varel's fingers twitched and found Eileen's wrist. The grip was weak and fierce at the same time. Her lips formed a word Eileen had read 1,000 times on that face and heard. Proud. Eileen swallowed a sob. "I know." Behind her, Marin laughed. It was ugly, wild, and brittle. The captains had her by both arms. She kicked once at a fallen goblet and sent it skittering.
"You think this makes you a queen?"
Marin called down.
"You killed her yourself. You brought her into this."
Eileen kept her eyes on Varel's face. "I'll make it right,"
"You'll bury another,"
Marin sang out, head thrown back, eyes bright with a kind of relief that only monsters feel when the world finally matches them.
"I've killed everyone you've ever loved."
Eileen closed her mouth around the sob and let the anger carry the words out instead. "And you will pay for it," she said, voice low and steady so the hall could hear it. "You burned them to wear their crowns. You named their deaths mercy. But one thing you forgot, you cannot burn the truth." Marin's laugh splintered, high and brittle.
"And what will you do, wolf girl? Sing their names until your throat breaks?"
No. Eileen's fingers tightened on Varel's wrist until the older woman winced. "I'll make sure everyone who helped you remembers what you did." Hands dragged Marin back. Her eyes flashed at Eileen, wild, dangerous, and then she was shoved through the side door, still spitting curses as the crowd pressed in around the dais. The chant rose again, louder this time. "Long live Luna! Long live Luna!" It wasn't polite applause. It was a sound that rearranged the room. It stitched a new map over the old one. Faces she had never trusted looked at her now with something like hope or hunger. Men who had spat on her months ago pounded fists on their chests and shouted names that had not been said in years. Eileen stayed on her knees, Varel's head cradled against her, staring at the thin pulse she could no longer find. Blood darkened her palms and the hem of her dress. The destiny stone's glow, which had burned bright an hour before, flickered uncertainly beneath the glass dome on its stand. For a moment, the world narrowed to breath and heartbeat, and the weight of a life she could not bring back. Then, the hall shifted in a way that had nothing to do with people. The destiny stone pulsed. Not a trick of light, an answering beat, clean and low, as if someone had struck a bell under the floor. The silver light bled from the dome, softening into a band of pale radiance that ran the length of the polished tiles. It found Eileen's hand first, touching the blood on her palm like rain on iron. Her skin prickled. Then the light crawled out across the floor and pooled at Varel's still form. The color that touched the wound was not the harsh white of a torch. It was the slow silver of moonlight. The torn skin at Varel's throat shuddered as the light licked it, the edges knitting together with a steady, impossible patience. Blood receded like tide. Her chest moved, once, twice. Breath came, ragged, then deeper. A ragged, collective sound rose from the crowd, half gasp, half prayer. Eileen felt her knees go hollow with something like disbelief and relief all at once. She pressed her forehead to Varel's hair and listened. The pulse under her fingers was weak, but there, real. "Varel?" she said, voice a thread. Varel's eyelids fluttered. Her fingers, still sticky, curled around Eileen's wrist with a grip that was all warning and life at once. Her voice was small and raw when she spoke.
"Only fools aren't afraid,"
she rasped, and the stubborn little laugh in it made Eileen's throat break. The Destiny Stone's light dimmed and settled, as if satisfied, the dome's glow returning to a steady, watchful shimmer. The room exhaled in a way that shifted power. People who had come to clap for a coronation now stood in the wake of a thing they did not understand. Rian moved beside Eileen then, appearing through the press of bodies like a shadow stepping into the light. He said nothing. He only dropped to one knee and took Varel's other hand. His face was raw, a bruise at his jaw, but there was a steadiness there Eileen had not seen in the hall until now. He had kept his promise. Someone near the galleries started the chant again, and it spread with a different meaning this time. Fierce, not fearful. Long live Luna! Long live Luna! It rolled down the aisles and answered itself until the hall was full of a new name. Eileen stood because the room needed a shape to follow. She helped Varel to sit against her hip and wiped a trembling hand over the older woman's mouthstone. Varel blinked at her, confusion and stubbornness tiding through. "We will not make this the end," Eileen said, and her voice carried now like steel. "You will not be made a sacrifice to another woman's crown. We will find every name who brought a torch. We will hold them to account." Around them, nobles shuffled and guards lowered their weapons. Marin had been dragged away when the first wave of the crowd moved. Shouts followed her like thrown stones. Her laughter, which had sounded so sure, cracked into something smaller. Fear, caught too late. Eileen looked up at the Destiny Stone one last time. It pulsed once, faint and steady like a heartbeat. The light wasn't a miracle forced at whim. It had answered a claim. It had answered her. Ryan squeezed her hand.
"You did it,"
he said, but it wasn't a question. "No," she answered. "We did." The hall was loud with a chant and a promise. Eileen sat there, fingers curled around Varel's, the blood drying where it had touched bone and cloth, and felt the weight of what she had taken and what she had been given. Eileen let the sound of the chant wrap around her and held on to Varel's hand like an anchor. She had a throne to take and a list to read, and she would do both with the truth on her tongue. The Destiny Stone had given them life back. Now it needed a ruler who would choose what to do with it.